Hey, are veterinary fees gotten too expensive for the average person to afford healthcare for their pet? That's a question I get asked almost weekly and is certainly in the circle of consultants that I hear bantered around a lot. So let's dive into this. I was in private practice for 17 years, and I think every one of those years there was always discussion and awareness about the cost of veterinary medicine. And the fears is it too expensive for the average person to own a pet? If the fees get too high, would people stop using veterinarians? Would that deter pet ownership? Would too high fees kind of go against the basic core, purpose of being a veterinarian? And so in those 17 years, I kind of addressed those with trying to find, fees that were fair for us and fair for the clients. And I think we always kind of heard that, but we still survived. So let's roll ahead to 2025 now, where we've gone through the pandemic, when people had a lot of excess cash. They weren't traveling, they weren't buying new homes and things like that. They weren't going out to restaurants. The shelters emptied out, and veterinarians were just overwhelmed with the sheer volume of people coming in, so kind of felt that they could charge whatever. So when that kind of wrapped up, now we're gotten into kind of a worldwide recession with lots of inflation. I know in the year 2022, I was ordering groceries online, and in 11 months, they went up by 18%. So, let's say 20% for the year of rising costs of things. The same thing was going on with veterinary supplies. And so fees have definitely risen up to the point. And once again, we are people saying it's too expensive. I don't want to take my pet to the vet. We hear these, odd things like this. We've even had in the news this last week, or kind of something I read, that one of the corporate practices dropped their fees and experienced a blush of people returning to their practice. So it's really hard to say whether that's just a coincidence or that's correlated. All I can observe and say from my experience is that veterinary fees have always been expensive for most people, but they are something they will pay if they see value. And the one thing that I focused on in my practice was putting value in with people. And that was really spending good time with them, making sure that people understood their pets' problems and medical issues and so forth, and they didn't leave the practice with any questions or confusions. I think that forced us all in a good way to become expert communicators. We dropped the big medical terms we were using. We would check in with the client to make sure they understood it. And my conclusion is if the client understands what needs to be done, and they do have the resources to pay for it, they will pay what needs to be done. Now, maybe there's a limit on that. I did hear from one of the insurance companies, the pet insurance companies, which I highly recommend. I recommend that all of you as pet owners have insurance like ProPet or Pet Plan or whatever the major ones are out there. It's a good thing. In fact, in my practice, we promoted a lot of it because things could easily go $5,000 and $10,000 for a serious medical condition. And if you don't have health care, that's going to hurt your pocketbook a little bit. And some people just simply may not be able to pay for that. So I highly recommend pet care. But I think the key thing is that I learned out of all this is that if you are a good communicator and the clients leave with full understanding, price becomes less important in the presence of that understanding. And what is understanding? Understanding is that kind of light bulb moment, that aha cognition moment, we call it, where the client fully understands what you're talking about. They don't have any questions or concerns, and they actually are now engaged in the process and want to go ahead with your treatment plan. And that's my advice to all of you in private practice is spend time on your communication skills. Make sure that your fees are set properly into that Goldilocks fee zone where they're not too hot, not too cold. Down below is a link for a webinar called The Goldilocks Guide to Great Fees. I want you to come in and see it, listen to that, and you'll understand more what I'm talking about there. So make sure your fees are set in the Goldilocks zone, and make sure you are undistracted and spending great time with people. I'm a great fan of AI and taking over your record keeping and the soaping of your records so that you've got time freed up to spend with clients and making sure that they leave with that full understanding, cognition, light bulb moment of what needs to be done for their pet. In my experience, if you get that cognition moment, they will muster up the resources to pay for it. So my feeling is that in some ways, things are the same, that veterinary medicine has always been expensive. In the old days, people used to raise their fees until people started kind of grousing about it and complaining, and then they'd know that'd be just right. There's a more exact formula I use now. So on one hand, fees have been more expensive, but when I heard from an insurance company that they just completed a filing or they paid out a filing on a bulldog with major respiratory issues, and that was a $65,000 fee, to me, that's a big fee. And without insurance, that would be super tough for, I would probably say, 95% of the people out there with pets. My conclusion is, as veterinarians, you need to be charging what's fair for you and fair to the clients and get your fees into that Goldilocks zone. And then also make sure that your clients are on a good insurance plan that can cover for those moments when things can start getting really, really big. Okay, that's my thoughts. I hope you enjoyed it. Please subscribe to this channel, click the notifications, tell your friends about it, and click the link below, and I'll see you on that Goldilocks guide to great fees. Thanks for watching.